Greetings, my lovelies. This is Blake here, and welcome to my review of WWE's Hell in a Cell 2015. So, before I start talking about this pay-per-view, I just wanted to discuss a few other shows that I didn't do vlogs on, such as the Live from Madison Square Garden event. That's the one where they were really advertising Brock Lesnar versus The Big Show, even though that ended up not being the main event, which was actually the rematch for the United States Championship, John Cena versus Seth Rollins. It was good. It's weird. I thought the same thing with the Beast in the East special. They're both more entertaining than the actual official pay-per-views, possibly because there's not a whole lot of baggage trailing them. There's no awful storylines. I'd ever get annoyed at who wins or who loses. You just sit down and enjoy the matches, and they pace out the matches really nicely, so they're all generally very entertaining. I think that's worth watching if you have not seen it. But I definitely think you should see the NXT TakeOver special, Respect. That is the best wrestling show that I have seen throughout all of this year, probably since I started watching wrestling again, late 2013. Man, it was just lots of high impact, fast paced action, but also, the matches told good stories, and there was a lot of emotion. They were all very dramatic, and I was just totally into it from beginning to end. I loved how the entire event was paced. I thought the only thing that kept it from me rating it the perfect 10 out of 10 was I disagreed with some of the booking. Like, I could forgive that the World Heavyweight Championship is not going to be defended, but the lack of tag team champions just kind of got on my nerves. It's really strange when, the champs, who are supposed to be like the best team right now, they get eliminated so early, and then ultimately, they never appear at this pay-per-view. And then even worse, the winners of the Dusty Rhodes Classic, this big tag team tournament, are two singles competitors who are working together. That just kind of knocks down the entire division a peg. If anything, it just should have been one of the official tag teams, because if the tag teams can't win their own specialty match, how do we hold this division in the same regard that we'd hold the other belts? They've done a phenomenal job at making the women's championship just as important as the World Heavyweight Championship, in my opinion. So they should do the same thing with the tag team belts too. But either way, amazing show. Definitely watch that one. So moving on to Hell in a Cell, my expectations were very low because I actually believe Raw and SmackDown, they're at a very low point in terms of writing and booking. I've hated almost everything they've come out with. Even when I've been entertained by the shows in themselves, it's only because of my admiration for the performers, because they can make certain things entertaining. But I've disliked the majority of the storylines and how these talents are being used. So I wasn't really expecting much, because none of these matches looked like they'd be all that exciting. And honestly, this pay-per-view was okay. It was probably the best one that I've seen, not including NXT or the other specials, since, I don't know, Extreme Rules or Payback, one of those. And that was, May, June, somewhere around there. So let me bring up all the matches, and I'll talk about the storylines, why they sucked, and why the matches themselves were okay. So the pre-show, or the kickoff match, was Dolph Ziggler, Neville, and Cesaro versus Sheamus, Rusev, and King Barrett. Man, it's obvious WWE has no plans for any of these guys, and so they just threw them all together. I can't totally blame them for this, though, because originally it was going to be Ambrose and Orton versus the Wyatts in this spot, but because Randy Orton got injured, they had to pull that out and throw this together at the last moment. So King Barrett, he comes back, he attacks both Stardust and Neville, and yet for some reason afterwards only targets Neville. You'd think that he'd have more of a grudge against Stardust, but it doesn't really matter because he's just there. I don't feel like he's going to get pushed any more than he was before. Hopefully, well, actually, I take that back. He has to get pushed more than he was before because he seemed to lose every match that he had before he, had his brief hiatus. Sheamus, same problem, except they haven't made Sheamus weak as much as you could tell they have absolutely no idea what to do with Sheamus right now. The Randy Orton program was very uninspired, and his inclusion in this quasi feud, it just shows that, he's holding the briefcase, and that's all you need to know. He's not harassing Seth Rollins at all. He's not capturing our interest with any of his storylines, and that's sort of a problem because he is going to be important somewhere down the line because he has that contract. And I just kind of feel like he's becoming less and less interesting because WWE is less interested in using him. So that's kind of a shame. Cesaro, jobber. He's the kind of guy who they want to build up as a credible jobber, so he'll beat people like Adam Rose or Heath Slater, but he'll always lose to the likes of Kevin Owens or Seth Rollins. Whoever they need to build up, they will put over Cesaro, and whoever they have no plans for, they'll have Cesaro go over. That's the extent of the writing surrounding that character, which is a shame because he's a great wrestler, and even his last match with Seth Rollins, and I was like, are they doing this again? Do we really think that Cesaro has a chance? But yet Seth Rollins acts like he's all afraid, like, oh shit, it's Cesaro, I don't know what I'm gonna do now. It's not like I haven't beaten him a million times before, but they have such great in-ring chemistry that the match is still very fun. So once again, they have no plans for him, so they put him in this unambitious kickoff match. Neville getting a soft push, which I'm not against because there's not a whole lot of room a lot of room for him right now in the main event scene. So he went over Stardust, but yeah, it's like afterwards, no real plan. So the goal is just not to make him a jobber, hopefully. But he's not really standing out right now in terms of how they're writing his angles and his feuds. And of course, you have Dolph Ziggler and Rusev, who were involved in the worst storyline, god damn it, since I started watching wrestling back in 2013. Holy shit, this is bad. And somehow it got worse based around the way it ended. Where since Lana and Rusev's real-life engagement got out, they decided, well, nobody's going to buy this now, so they just announced that they got back together. Could they have done something like epic with it, where they at least have Lana appear on screen and there's some big betrayal or something? They could have, but they don't. And just the way it played out just made me feel like I had wasted the last however many fucking months enduring this awful feud, and none of it makes sense. I don't know who to root for. I mean, Rusev's still kind of an asshole. Dolph Ziggler has been a horrible baby face throughout this entire storyline. And Summer's acting like, she was betrayed by Rusev, as if she wasn't the one who was, sneaking into Dolph Ziggler's locker room. It's just so bad, so fucking bad. And now Rusev looks like he's kind of going down the jobber route, considering how quickly he was defeated by Ryback. So yeah, all these horrible storylines converge for this match, and the match was fun. Is it anything amazing? No, it's just a standard 6-man tag team match. Not too different from the one they had on Raw a few weeks ago. But, it's very fast-paced. There's some fun spots. Yet at the same time, this match isn't designed to necessarily steal the show. It just wants to pump up the crowd, to get them, in the mood for some, real matches. Not to say that this isn't a real match, but in this case, there are no real stakes. If the bad guys won, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. It's just to entertain the crowd and the audience in general. And I was entertained, so I won't complain about the quality of this matchup. It seemed like Cesaro was kind of the one who they built it around. He had the most star-making moments Do I think they're actually going to do anything with him? Uh, Even though he was able to shine so much here, no, but it was still cool all the same. Now we move on to the main card, and I was surprised that it started off with the United States Open or Championship Open Challenge. I thought it was weird because John Cena had no feud going into this. It seemed like they teased, something with maybe Xavier Woods or Dolph Ziggler, but it never really came into being. So when I heard that they were just doing an open challenge, okay, I'm interested. Even though that seems like a weird way to sell a pay-per-view. But who is it going to be? There were so many rumors from Ziggler to Daniel Bryan. I personally thought it would be Damian Sandow, just because what is Damian Sandow even doing right now? And of course, a lot of people were thinking that it would be Tyler Breeze, and then it ended up being Alberto Del Rio. This was strange to me because I'd heard that WWE was looking to bring him back. I just didn't think it would happen this quickly. So when he came out and was actually introduced by Zeb, it just totally threw me off. But still, that's interesting. And I'm watching this match, and it's okay. The problem with this match is, I don't know, it seemed to me that John Cena looked burned out. Like, he wasn't really giving it his all. He was just kind of going through the motions, and maybe that is just the problem. Maybe because, he's taking time off, so we knew he wasn't going to win this match. Maybe he's just unhappy, or whether it's something in his personal life or his position within the company. Who knows? But maybe he's just burned out on wrestling. But it just didn't seem like it was all that exciting. Like, the match never really caught fire, and then it ended very abruptly, very anticlimactically. Where, I think Del Rio, does a backbreaker or something. I'm really bad with the terminology of the moves. And then he just kicks him in the face, and that's enough to knock Cena out. That was very strange. But, I mean, it was interesting seeing Del Rio back, and it was even more interesting seeing him actually beat John Cena, of all people, considering Del Rio was a jobber before he left the company. Granted, a jobber with some credibility, sort of like the villainous version of Cesaro, but, he's still just a jobber. So for him to beat Cena cleanly is kind of a big deal, and I hope that WWE doesn't screw this up. And like I said, the match was okay. There was some decent psychology. But above everything, I was interested in seeing what happens next. Will Del Rio be a heel now? Will Jack Swagger turn heel out of jealousy? Will there be some sort of alliance? I have no idea, but I am intrigued. So even though this match was kind of underwhelming, at least I am interested in seeing the next chapter.